Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on marketing management, and in this series of our lectures on the subject marketing management, today I am going to talk to you about pricing, decision and strategy. This is going to be part 1 of our lectures on pricing, decisions and strategy. So before I proceed for having a discussion on this topic, let me share with you the agenda of today's session. We'll be talking about the pricing meaning and objectives, what are the pricing objectives, the factors which influence pricing decisions, pricing strategies, and of course we'll be talking about methods of pricing as well. So my dear learners, when we talk about pricing as a strategy, as a decision, it becomes very important for a marketer, because it is the only activity, it is the only mix which is going to generate revenue for the marketer. Rest all involve some amount of cost into their process, wherein when we talk about pricing, that is price, it is actually the only activity, the sole activity which generates revenue for the organization, for a marketer. So we have to understand that this task becomes very significant for a marketer, and of course their preference also, they give due preference to this task because they believe that this is the component of marketing mix which is going to provide us lifeblood with which we can survive for long, because without profit no company can survive, and profit is coming from the selling price, of course cost plus markup, whatever profit component is there into the price, that is going to provide lifeblood to the business. So when we talk about pricing as a strategy in the marketing mix, of course we call it popularly as 4 P's: product, price, place and promotion. So this pricing becomes one of the most significant strategy, activity or decision, whatever you say, for a marketer. So there are certain questions which a marketer is supposed to answer when they go for planning and crafting their strategy for pricing. So the first and the foremost question is, how do consumers process and evaluate prices? So whatever price you are going to decide, in what manner consumers or customers, they are going to process and evaluate your pricing. The second question is, how should a company set prices initially for their products or services? So initially, if you are launching a product, how you should decide or set your prices at the initial stage for whatever product or services you are offering. The third question is, how should a company adapt prices to meet varying circumstances and opportunities? So will there be any change in different circumstances on different occasions, or there would be a flat pricing strategy without any change across the year, across the entire period, that is called all 365 days, or you are going to provide some discounts, some offers, or make some changes into the pricing when it comes to the varying circumstances and opportunities. The next question is, when should a company initiate a price change? If we have decided to go for having a constant price, that is the price which is not going to change, so will there be any stage where the company would start thinking of initiating a change in price? And how should a company respond to a competitor's price challenges? If there is a price challenge posed by a competitor of yours, how would you face that? How would you brave that? That should also be into your strategic toolbox. There should be an answer to this question also into your strategic toolbox, or what you call as your kitty as a marketer. So my dear learners, all these questions, they are actually giving a caution to marketers, to all the marketers, regardless of their sector, regardless of the type of products or services they are serving. It is a question in front of them that yes, they have to have some provision for these situations, these kind of changes, these kind of challenges, where lot of adaptation, lot of convergence, lot of changes are also needed in due course of time. So with these questions in our mind, we will be proceeding to have a discussion on the topic of pricing, strategy and decisions, and these questions, of course we would try to find answers to these questions at every step, at every stage, and I would be telling you that yes, this was a question and now this is the answer. But when we proceed, there are certain common pricing mistakes also which some of the marketers commit. So it's better to learn from others' mistake. It is always said that a person is wise, a person is regarded as wise who learns from his own mistake, but a person becomes wiser if he or she learns from others' mistakes. So it is always good to learn from others' mistake. Don't do any experiment on your company, your product, your market. It's better to keep in mind what are the common pricing mistakes which normally marketers commit. So the first one is that when they go for determining cost and take traditional industry margins. So should we take traditional industry margins while determining cost, and taking traditional industry margins, can we survive with that? That we have decided the cost, and we have also decided that we would be incorporating traditional industry margins into our pricing strategy. So can we go ahead with that? The second is, there is a failure to revise prices to capitalize on market changes. There are certain market changes which at times they offer a challenge, they give an opportunity also to you, along with posing some challenges. Some people think that whenever there is a change in the market, it always poses some challenge, but there are certain situations where these situations, they offer some great opportunities also. So if you fail to revise prices to capitalize on market changes, of course this is not the advisable idea. So this is another common pricing mistake which some of the marketers had committed in the past. So it is always good to keep this mistake in our mind, that we should not commit this kind of mistake while crafting our own strategy or making our decisions related to prices. The next is, some of the marketers, they set prices independently of the rest of the marketing mix. So they don't consider product, place, promotion into the picture. They don't keep those components into their mind while deciding the price. So they are setting price independently and not listening to the rest of the marketing mix. So of course it is going to pose another set of challenge, that whatever the price you have decided or determined in the isolation, that cannot serve your purpose in a better way, and it would actually make the achievement of company's goal of almost impossible, almost difficult. So it is always good that while setting the prices, you should have an integrated approach, because nowadays we talk about integrated marketing. So there has to be an integration across different component of marketing mix. So this is another mistake which some of the marketers had committed in the past. So we should always keep this thing in mind, that we should not, as a marketer, commit such kind of mistakes. There is another mistake, that some of the marketers, they fail to vary prices by product item, market segment, distribution channels, and purchase occasion. So these are the certain components, certain variables which actually call for varying prices. So if you fail to vary prices by product item or market segment, suppose if your segment is of that type where you need to make some variation into the price, so you should do. If your distribution channels, they call for different pricing strategy, then of course accordingly you should plan. I would give a very pertinent example here for distribution channels. If you look at the smallest product, the daily product called the bread, if you buy a packet of bread, and if it is manufactured in a metropolitan city called Delhi, so in Delhi of course their price would be different as compared to the other neighboring districts or other neighboring cities, because of course they are involving some amount of transportation cost. So that is why they write on their packaging that the price in Delhi is this and price out of Delhi is this. So customers also agree to that. So you should not fail to vary prices by distribution channels. Then of course if your product is being distributed at a different geographical location, so accordingly your price should change. And of course the occasion of purchase also matters a lot. So you should be ready to go for making those variations into your pricing strategy. So my dear learners, these are certain common pricing mistakes which previously marketers had committed, and they had also incurred some losses on account of this. So it is always good to have these mistakes into our mind, so that we should not commit them, because our predecessors or other marketers have committed. So it is always good to learn from others' mistakes. Now the question of our entire this lecture, the question in front of us, which actually combines the gist of this entire lecture, is what is price? Of course, price is, if it is defined narrowly, it is the amount of money which is charged for a product or service. But if we go for a broader definition, which I have already discussed previously when I was giving you a brief introduction about the pricing strategy, we talked about price is a sum of all the values which consumers exchange for the benefits of having or using a specific product or service. So whatever product or service we are using, and for that, whatever values we are going to exchange with the marketers, that is called price. So price is actually the exchange of goods or services in terms of money. And of course, price, when I have to define it in terms of a formula, I would say price is equal to cost plus profit. So whatever cost company has incurred, they have to add some margin into that. This is the most conservative formula of deciding price, or you can say the most oldest formula of deciding the price, that we have to add some markup, some profit into the cost to arrive at price. And that we have been doing, most of the marketers they have been doing, either they do it directly or indirectly, but it is always in the back of their mind while determining the price. So price actually brings the revenues, and that is what I told you, that why it is so significant for a marketer, because this is the only element in the marketing mix which is offering us the revenues. All the rest are the cost, and price communicates the value positioning of a particular product. Now the question comes, what is the objective of pricing? What is the core objective, the key goal behind determining the pricing strategy? Of course, the first one is survival. We have to survive as a marketer. As a marketer, we have to find survival in the market initially, because we cannot survive without profit, and profit originates from the price only. The second is pricing for target return. At times we determine the pricing for having an expected ROI. So I have decided that see I want 10% of ROI on my investment, I want 10% of return on my investment. So my ROI is decided, and accordingly that is going to be price is going to be translated in terms of ROI, if my objective is to ensure the achievement of that specific ROI. So pricing for target return can also be done. That can also be one of the objective. Some of the marketers, they are deciding their goal is to have majority of the market share. They want to emerge as a market leader in terms of market share, and accordingly their pricing is determined. Some of the marketers, they want a tacit control over competition. They want to meet or prevent competition at times. They want to avoid competition, although speaking it directly is not acceptable, because we live in a country where we have a specific enactment for this, and we have Competition Act for this specific purpose, where you cannot deny, you cannot prevent competition in any manner. But some of the marketers, at times they have this tacit goal of meeting or preventing, or somehow you can say managing with the competition, and for that they decide their pricing objective. So depending upon your own goal, you are going to decide what pricing method you are going to use or adopt. Another objective can be that you want the leadership in terms of product quality. You want your company to be known as a quality leader in the market, that nobody else can offer a quality which is better than yours. So you want to emerge as a quality leader in the specific segment, in the specific market. So accordingly your pricing strategy would be determined. Accordingly your pricing policies, pricing methods and techniques will be selected. Some of the marketers, their goal is to go for profit maximization and resource mobilization. So that also is translated into pricing methods, techniques and policies. Some of the marketers, they want stable prices in the market, and accordingly they decide. And eventually there is another objective is customers' ability to pay, that how much my customer is able to pay. So according to the paying capacity of my customer or client, I am going to decide the price. So my dear learners, these objectives are translated into the selection of different methods of pricing, different ways of pricing. But at the back of all these selection of techniques and methods, these objectives play a significant role. They play a crucial role. Because suppose if my objective is to become a market leader in terms of market share, then of course my pricing technique would be different from that company which is going to have a quality leadership. because quality is always paid. If you want higher quality, of course, in proportion to that, you will have to shell out the values, or what you can say is price. So of course, if your company is willing to emerge as a quality leader, so prices would be on the higher side. So according to your pricing objective, the methods, or what you can say is the techniques of pricing would be selected, because it is going to be translated. These objectives are going to be translated in terms of selection of techniques or deciding the pricing policies. So there are different factors which influence pricing decisions. I would discuss in detail little later that what are the different factors that influence pricing decisions. Some of them they are internal, some of them they are external. So those factors they influence pricing decisions, like organizational factors, marketing mix, product differentiation, cost of the product, objectives of the firm. And when we say external factors, of course, demand of a product, competition, position of suppliers, economic conditions, the paying capacity of buyers, and of course government policies. When I'll be telling about different pricing methods, there I would tell you that because of these factors, this specific technique is being used. So that is why I am not discussing it in detail here, because while telling you about the different methods or techniques of pricing, I would tell you that, see, when the demand is high, which pricing policy is being adopted, which pricing technique is being adopted. When there is a government rule, government policy, so according to government rules and regulations or enactments, there is a change in pricing method, and we call it, we give it another name in terms of pricing a product. So my dear learners, there are different internal and external factors which actually have a strong influence on pricing decisions. So this decision cannot be taken in isolation. It is not that easy as saying that I would be calculating cost, adding desired rate of return, or what you call as profit, and say that this is my price. It is not that easy nowadays, because due to the robust level of competition in the market which we are witnessing nowadays, you cannot decide your price like that. That yes, I will be calculating the cost and adding the markup and saying this is my price and customers would pay. You have to keep in mind different components which have significant impact on your pricing decisions. So your cost is, on one hand, it is very significant, but at times you will have to minimize your cost to come up with a price which is acceptable by the market. So the entire scenario has changed. It is not that easy. Gone are the days when we used to say that pricing is something which is decided by a marketer. Nowadays it is very well said and established that pricing is also decided by the market itself. Price is something which is decided by the market forces, and to some extent we are now in a situation where there is a laissez-faire policy, let it be free. So let market forces decide the price, and to a larger extent market forces are nowadays deciding the prices. So you cannot charge any amount or anything from your customer. You have to be little rational, rather I would say you have to be very rational, realistic and practical also while determining the price of your product or services which you are going to offer in the market. So coming to pricing decision, after giving you a brief introduction of what pricing is all about, what are the factors that affect the pricing decision of a marketer, now it's time for us to understand what do we mean by pricing decision. So it is actually the outcome of different factors. So those factors I am going to tell you, that if a company is going to take a pricing decision or make a pricing decision, there are different components which actually determine your pricing decision. The first one is company's objectives. So suppose if your company is established with a specific objective, so that objective is going to be translated into your pricing decisions also. Although all company methods and objectives may ultimately be oriented towards making profit, profit is something which cannot be denied by any objective or any goal, but firms implement a profit orientation specifically by focusing on target profit pricing. So here the firms usually implement target profit pricing when they have a particular profit goal as a major concern. Suppose my company's objective is to have larger amount of market share, greater market share in that particular segment. So while deciding that, the profit will also be kept in mind. So while drafting your company's objective, profit is something which is always kept in mind, that yes, this is the main objective of my company, and accordingly the price would be decided. So there can be a profit orientation, there can be a sales orientation depending upon your company's policies, there can be a competitors orientation. If your orientation is profit, then of course you will decide your pricing method, pricing techniques accordingly. If your objective is to have greater amount of sales, sales orientation is on the higher side, then of course you will be setting prices. You as a marketer, you would believe that increasing sales will help the firm more than increasing profit. So your per unit profit may be less, but the total profit would be on a higher side. Reason is very simple, because you are charging smaller amount from every customer, but since your customer base is so high that you can have greater amount of profit there. There can be a competitor orientation also. They actually strategize according to the premise that they should measure themselves primarily against their competitors. So some firms, they focus on competitive parity. And when I say competitive parity, I mean to say that they are setting prices that are identical to those of their major competitors. So you are deciding your prices, while deciding your prices, you keep in mind what your competitors are doing. So your orientation is going towards competitors also. So the orientation can differ, and according to your orientation, whether it is sales, profit or competitor orientation, your pricing would be decided. You will actually go for taking a decision of your pricing. There can be a customer orientation also, because nowadays we talk about giving top priority to customers. So customer orientation invokes the concept of value. So many a times firm may attempt to increase value by focusing on customer satisfaction, or nowadays they go a step ahead and they talk about customers delight, which means offering more than what my customers can even imagine. So more than what they are expecting, if we are offering, then of course it will make them feel delighted, and in that way they are setting prices to match customer expectations also. So if your orientation is towards customers, then accordingly your pricing, your entire value proposition would be determined in that order only, because your orientation is towards customers only. So the first one is, what is my company's objective? Your company's objective may have different orientations, and according to your orientation, your pricing will be decided. The second is customers. So when a firm has developed their company objectives, they actually turn to understanding consumer reactions to different prices. In what manner my customers, my target market is going to react to the pricing decisions. So whatever decision I have taken as a marketer, what changes my customers are going to suggest, or what reactions they have. So because their reaction is very important, because eventually we have to sell the product to them only. So their reaction is very much important. When we talk about demand curve and pricing, so demand curve tells us very simply that in accordance to change in the price of a particular product, the demand will also change. So it shows how many units of a product or services consumers will demand during a specific period of time at different prices. So at different prices, what would be the quantum of demand? So that is going to decide. So the demand curve is going to give us give us an opportunity to make a judgment that yes, if I want this much of quantity to be sold out, then of course my price should be at this specific level only. And of course when we talk about demand curve, we cannot ignore the price elasticity of demand, how elastic or inelastic it is. And as we all know that if I have to define elasticity of demand, it actually refers to percentage change in quantity demanded in reaction to percentage change in price. Suppose if you are making change in price to the tune of 10%, either increase or decrease. Having said change, it can be either way, either increase in the price or decrease in the price. So if you are making change in the price of your product by 10% and the demand is changing in greater proportion, say 20% or 30%, so that can be used strategically. So if we talk about the degree of elasticity, price elasticity of demand, that would actually help us in determining the strategy of our company, that by simply reducing price by 5%, if we can increase the demand by say 40% or even more than that. in case of highly elastic products. So we have to understand there are certain exceptions to this theory for certain products wherein they don't apply on this price elasticity of demand is it does not apply to certain products, like in case of life saving medicines. You know, of course they are supposed to be used in a prescribed proportion only. So it does not mean that if their price will reduce, patients will start having a huge quantity of medicines, of course not. So for them it does not apply, but yes, largely it is giving us an opportunity to understand that while going for expanding the market share, if I am willing to have greater amount of market share, how can I make use of this price elasticity of demand, this information, while making our pricing decisions. So pricing strategies, they can be cost based, they can be value based, they can be competitor based, depending upon your orientation. As a marketer, you have to decide that whether you want to combine all three. Nowadays marketers are combining all three. They are not only cost based but also value based, and they also keep in mind what my competitors are doing. So it is a multi-dimensional strategy. Nowadays pricing strategy has become multi-dimensional. Gone are the days when marketers used to say that I'll be following value based or cost based or competitor based pricing strategy. I will select one of them. No, now you have to become multi-tasking. You have to have the multi-fold pricing strategy wherein you incorporate all these bases into your pricing strategies. So there can be a cost based methods wherein the cost is decided by adding by calculating all the expenses, and you are adding some profit into that. There can be a competitor based method, there can be value based pricing. So what are the different methods of pricing? There is a very popular term called psychological pricing, where prices are set at odd amounts, say 19 rupees 95 paisa, not 20 rupees or 99 rupees. So it is called psychological pricing. Why it is used, I will tell you in the next segment of my lecture on the subject. There is a customary pricing also, where rate and market condition is going to decide that this is going to be the price, not by the manufacturer. Skimming the cream, wherein higher introductory prices in the initial stages are calculated, they are kept, and later on they reduce. There can be penetration pricing, where low price is designed in initial stage, because that I would tell you that according to the different stage of PLC, that is product life cycle, how this strategy or decision is going to change. So the different pricing involves geographical pricing also, as I told you, in case of bread, where if they are being sold out in a particular city and in other cities, how the pricing changes. Administered pricing based on managerial decision. There can be a dual pricing for government and to open market, different prices may be charged. There can be a negotiated pricing, wherein specification design is designed by the buyer, so of course the price is going to be customized one. There can be a competitive bidding also. Nowadays government institutions, they are buying through GEM portal, they have government e-market portal also, wherein they have competitive biddings online. Just like for us, we have Amazon or Flipkart or different other companies, to name a few. For government purchase, we have GEM, that is government e-market portal. So my dear learners, in this way we have discussed about the different methods of pricing. I have given you a brief introduction of what exactly the pricing strategy is, what are the factors that affect pricing strategies, and what are the different orientations with which companies are going to decide their pricing methodology, pricing techniques, and pricing policies. I hope you must have enjoyed this segment of my lecture on pricing. In the next lecture of mine, I will be telling you about the different pricing strategies. With this, I am concluding this segment of my lecture on the topic. Thank you so much.